What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what is really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So NIO is down 6%, 540 the low, 587 the high, and about 47 million shares being traded. Of that volume, most is coming from algorithmic trading. So you can even see on the secondary market, there's only 4 transactions, 1 sell, 3 buys. So still, those 3 buys aren't going to be enough to really propel NIO higher, because algorithmic trading has been extremely powerful over the last several days or even potentially weeks. And one thing that's really causing that certain level of suppression is a lot of negative American data linked to consumers, and that's more of a touchy subject. Plus, you also did have this, so a Fed speaker warning of a possible market drop. So a lot of that is due to high valuations. In my opinion, NIO shouldn't really be included in that, because with NIO not being fully profitable or anything right now, you have to look at the PS ratio, and that's sitting at 1.25. In comparison to what it was, it's kind of high, but it's still, comparing it to other Chinese EVs or even let alone American, like for instance Rivian, which is kind of low, is sitting at 2.88. So if NIO had the same multiple as Rivian, which I get you can't really compare the two, it would be at least double from current prices. So at the end of the day, it's just a very crappy day all around. Aside from that, there's a couple things I do want to bring up. In fact, this came out yesterday. I meant to bring it up in my video yesterday, so my apologies on that. But NIO secures first customer for its autonomous driving chip, even though in this article it actually says that NIO failed to actually comment on this. So this is, as per usual, rumored and coming from a third party. Still, I think this is going to be the next big thing for NIO, and most likely this is something that as well that they could talk on in their upcoming earnings, what they have for future guidance. And you never know, in my opinion, just based on the multiple of NIO, it's fair to assume that there really isn't any kind of semi or tech revenue multiple added to NIO. So if they actually come out and say, hey, we have multiple potential customers down the line, blah blah blah, then NIO could really move significantly higher. So something to keep in mind. Only other thing that came out from my video yesterday to today was L90 Black Knight Edition, which I believe was launched like roughly around Halloween time. It just goes over some specs for that. I do believe that this sold out roughly in like 48 hours, if I remember correctly. So I think this is going to be a pretty big success. So if NIO is able to continue to do these special editions, I think that would be pretty a-okay for just kind of good demand and stuff like that. Aside from that, at the time of doing this video, shorts are increasing 966,000 shares, 11.7% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 163.1 million shares overall being shorted. So shorts, I think, are very strategic in what they've been doing. So every time NIO and just the broader market sells off, like, they tend to return. But when NIO is kind of close to a key pivot and a good support level, this is where shorts do really increase. And so right now, quickly popping over here with it right now at 540, it is right below this S3. So it is absolutely getting slammed. But prior to that, it was above that 544. So I think this is where shorts were gently guiding NIO below that 544 to really break it on a technical standpoint, because the next real support, in theory, looking at the classic, is going to be 370. Kind of extreme, but once I go over the chart, it'll give you a little bit more of a viewpoint on that. So 544, best case scenario, it does close above that. So NIO over the last week it's been a brutal day, or brutal week, I guess. So down 10.68%, and then over the last 1 month down 21.74%. So for those of you that were begging in my comments and just on social media for cheaper prices, you got your wish. A lot of individuals like myself probably wouldn't have wished that kind of even happened, but it is what it is. At this stage, you kind of just have to make a decision whether you're going to either dollar cost average down, or potentially, depending on your average, liquidate, because again, potentially the next strong support is going to be 370. Aside from all that, looking at the options, 8.04 million in calls, 1.7 in puts, and 65% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 550 to 6. So optimism has definitely dropped a lot with NIO. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 550. And I did bring this up in my video yesterday. I do believe that there might have been a glitch on unusual whales. I think momentarily it did show no weekly change, only monthly. So something was kind of acting up for that. So I don't know what really happened. But aside from that, though, these are some of the transactions occurring on the dark pool. So dark pool is often enough used by shorts and hedge funds. And given how active this is, it is fair to assume most of this is linked to shorts. Aside from all that fun stuff, quickly popping over here, as what I brought up in my video yesterday, I'm going to start giving you good kind of unusual activity option wise. So looking at the out of the money, and I always like to look at out of the money, only because it does signal institutions actually betting on a direction. And most of these are single leg transactions as well. So you see a couple kind of multi-legs, but for the most part, from the bulls, you see a consensus for, looks like by this week, for it to be above 6. So maybe they were anticipating for a nice recovery. But as you can kind of see, feel free again to pause the video and kind of look at it. There's a lot of good information here, but it does look like there's more bearishness rather than anything. And some of which it looks like there is $5 calls being sold. So in case you don't know what that means, that's usually hedging. Because if I, for instance, purchased right now at 540 and you want to lock in some profits, you could easily just sell a $5 call, and even if it goes up higher, you kind of lock in some money, because it looks like they got a $1.07, $1.10 for premiums. So at the end of the day, not necessarily the best. But aside from that, on the actual chart itself, it's fully broken. So yesterday it did break below, and was the first time it closed below that 100-day moving average. Today is really solidifying that. And so again, even based on the fib levels, it looks like shorts are trying to guide it a little bit lower. So the next strong kind of moving average is going to be that 200, and that's sitting at 498. But I think the sentiment is really getting hit quite hard. And right now, looking at the stochastic RSI, this is kind of the only positive about NIO's chart, is that it is extremely oversold. Even looking at the market position, you don't see any real substantial willing buyers. So I think this gap does need to be filled. But still, this small amount of willing buyers, they need to hold on for dear life. If not, things could get very real very fast. So let me know your general thoughts on NIO. Are you buying? Are you selling? Do you think that this crazy sell-off is justified or not? And when it comes down to their first kind of chip sale, do you think that is going to prompt a higher multiple for NIO? Or do you think when NIO is starting to move higher, that was already starting to get factored in? So what's your general thoughts on NIO? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. So I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile to pop over and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.